Welcome to the Nova unboxing party. My name is Ted. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here today. I got the chat going so I can see a couple of people hopping in here. We got Barry Chang from Toronto. We got Frederico Monteiro from Portugal, of course. Pedro's here. Thanks so much for joining us and being a part of this. So when you post comments, we will be able to see these questions. We will be able to help answer them. If we don't get to your question right away, don't worry. We will get to it by the end. We'll do a little Q&A at the end as well, too. We got a couple awesome guests coming on today. Some really cool people. We got Adam coming in from Lightbulb Grip Company over in New York. We got Cameron coming over from Light Modifiers. We have a couple of rental houses coming on today. But for everyone that is watching this and is wondering, what am I tuning in for and what exactly am I seeing today? Today is officially 1 week since the launch of the Nova, and I think they've just gone out. Some people have been getting them today, yesterday, but there's a couple people that have had them now for 1 week, which is really exciting, and a lot of rental houses have them already. So basically most major cities that you're in right now, you will be able to go to a local rental house and be able to rent a Nova. So if you can't buy one, you can rent one there. Or, of course, if you're doing projects and bigger things, you need a lot of Novas, you want to be able to do this, you have that support there at your disposal as well, too. So you're going to be meeting a couple cool faces today, some of our favorite rental houses, really nice people that I don't care what level of shooting you're doing, you should have connections with these people. It's always good to have a good connection with your local rental house. Two, we're going to go through real quick the Nova as far as the finer details. And it's called an unboxing party because, well, it's already out of the box, but because we're going to be talking about a couple of the details that we didn't talk about in the overall overview. So we talked about the Nova before. We spent about an hour going through all the features. But in this one, we're going to talk about a couple of the kind of key features that are hidden underneath the hood that we haven't talked about before. Talk about how they work, what a couple of menus do. So if you are here and you have a Nova, say hello in the chat. Make sure you say and bring out your actual kit here because you'll be able to play around with the controls as we do this live. Two, if you're interested in buying a Nova, if you're interested in just saying what is the new technology that's appearing in the world right now, what is the new cutting edge stuff there, this is also your opportunity to get up to date. And we're going to show you all the finer details of the feature. Finer details of the feature. It sounds very romantic. I like it. And we're going to talk about all that today, so you're going to be able to learn something if you don't have a Nova. If you have a Nova, you're going to be able to learn how to use the higher end features that come with your actual kit here. And then finally, if you are just here to hang out and ask questions, you can hang out and ask questions. I see you guys in the comments. So again, let me see a couple people. We got Lamar Gooch Gray checking in from New Mexico. We got Kareem. We got a bunch of people here. Say hello. We got David Weldon Jr. over here too. Some fantastic filmmakers. Dave Donaldson, huge fan, of course. He's the best grip tips. Go check him out. But let's do this. I'm going to jump into this. We got our guests coming on in approximately about 15 to 20 minutes. So I want to go through the Nova real fast. Let's talk overview first, and then I'll start to jump into those finer features. So, Brandon, can we get that overview pulled up? And then, Brandon, on this monitor here, I'm not seeing anything right now. So just giving you a heads up about that. So tell me when the frame is up. It's up? Okay, so starting off, we're going to be talking about the actual Nova as far as how does the actual size of this fixture go. So when we're talking about the size of a fixture like this, I think the biggest misconception that I want to clear for a lot of people out there is they look at the actual fixture and because it looks wider, it looks like a standard 2x1. That is not the case. This is not a 2x1 fixture. Actually, what we did is we took a 2x1 similar looking form factor, but we actually just expanded it, made it a little bit wider, made it a little bit shorter. But as far as the actual size of the light goes, this fixture right here actually compares to approximately about a 1x1 or a SkyPanel S30. And again, I have to name a lot of brand names here. Forgive me, I'm going to be doing this all the entire presentation. And the reason for that is because RGB lights have been out for approximately 4 years. And if we're coming onto the market, we want to show what's different, what's new. So I'm going to be going through. And again, I also get this question all the time. This is probably the most common question that we get is, how does this stack up to a SkyPanel S60? How does this stack up to a SkyPanel S60, a Gemini 1x1, a 2x1? We're going to go through all that today. So real quick, we talked about this before, but as far as the actual surface area goes, we are talking about with the Nova, we have approximately a 15-inch by 10-inch panel, which comes out to something like 167.6 square inches. Now, if you compare that panel size to something like a SkyPanel S30, for instance, the S30, it's also a little bit wider, but if you actually look at this, it's 14 by 11, which comes out to approximately 165.2. So it's literally about the exact same surface area as an S30. Likewise, if we're talking about the Gemini 1x1 or the Gemini 2x1, if we're talking about the actual comparisons here too, you can look at a Gemini 1x1, 1x1 being 1 foot by 1 foot, which means 12 inches by 12 inches. 12 inches by 12 inches means that we're coming out at approximately 144 square inches here, which again, if we're talking about comparisons and what's closest here, size comparisons, the Nova P300c is closest to an S30 or a 1x1. So I want to make that clear. People look at it, they think it's a 2x1. We'll go through all of that in a minute and a second here. For people out there using metric, I know most of the world is metric. For some reason, in the States here, we're still measuring things with a king's foot, but the point here is the overall concept here. So hopefully you can forgive us for not having metric, or maybe someone in the comments can jump in there and post a little bit of the metric information there as well. But let's do this. Next slide. So moving on from the actual size of the panel itself, we're going to talk about brightness here. Now, this is the one that we are probably one of the most excited specifications that we can show for this slide. So again, when we're talking about brightness comparisons, we already talked about how the size competes closest to an S30 or approximately a Gemini 1x1. If we're talking about brightness here, we are talking about 9,000 lux at 1 meter away. And yes, that is with a 120-degree beam angle, which we will be talking about a little bit later. The guys over at Light Modifier are amazing at doing a lot of these comparisons. We'll be talking to them in a minute, so stay tuned for that. But the key thing that I want to show here is that we are approximately 70% brighter than an S30 here, and this is approximately about 67% brighter than a Gemini 1x1. So again, do these tests by yourself. Go out there, go find the fixtures, or even better yet, find your local rental house and ask them to do the comparisons for yourself. This is something that we're really proud of. And the reason we're able to accomplish this is because the technology that we're using is RGBWW. For every red, green, blue cluster of LEDs, we are packing in an additional 2 white light LEDs that will actually boost our output across the board, across all colors here. And it's not only how we get the brighter output here, but we also get better color fidelity. Now, moving on from the actual Nova itself, let's talk real quick about how the actual panel compares as far as weight. Weight is another consideration that I've heard a lot about. How does this compare? How does this compare? Again, it's kind of funny. I see people looking at it like a 2x1. I see it looking like it's about a 1x1. If you're comparing this to a SkyPanel S30, we are approximately about the same weight. So you're looking at about 22.8 pounds versus 22.7 pounds. Virtually identical as far as weight goes. If you're comparing this to, again, the Sled 450 is a much larger fixture, but if you're comparing that to one of those fixtures as well too, this is a fixture that we compete as far as brightness goes. We're brighter than a 450, but likewise, as far as the actual weight goes, we're comparing this to approximately 26 pounds. So again, is this a creator fixture? Is this something that you're going to be running and gunning with, travel filmmaking? Probably not. This is designed for rental houses. This is designed for high-end users. This is designed for people that have their 1-ton, 3-ton grip truck packages, or for people that just need the best dang lighting that they can get in their setups and their studios. So this is for you if that's your fixture. So I don't want people to confuse this. We know it's a higher-end panel. It's designed to be a higher-end panel. We'll talk about pricing in a little bit. Now, moving on from the actual weight comparison, these are sheets that we get asked for all the time. One question that I get asked for the most often is, how does the P300c compare to a SkyPanel S60? And again, I got to go brand names here because this is what everyone's familiar with. So what I'm excited to show is that we already talked about how this is approximately the exact same size as an S30. It's approximately about the exact same weight as an S30. But when we talk about brightness here, we are within 20% of the punching power of an S60 here. And that's something that we're really excited about. So for people that are wondering, we're talking about an intensity that is comparable to an S60 at the size and form factor of an S30 with better color and a lot of other features that we're going to be talking about here. So I got to do these comparisons because, again, we get these questions so much. I get these questions so much, it's crazy. So, okay, moving on. Last thing I want to talk about before we actually hop into some of the finer details in this overview that we're doing here is let's talk real quick about how this compares for pricing and color fidelity. So as far as the color fidelity goes, we're going to go through real quick here. We showed you the price real quick, but CRI TLCI, I don't care how you measure your color. There are some problems with CRI TLCI, but they're pretty good general indicators of how good is the color. Approximately 95 across the board. You will hit approximately 97 to 98. We've seen 99 at some numbers, depending on how you're going on your hue, saturation, intensity. Likewise, SSI, this is your spectral similarity index. This is the most accurate way of measuring how perfect is the spectrum of color being recreated of this light. We're talking about an SSI of approximately 85, which is unheard of, incredibly high if you don't know already. A score of 70 is considered very, very good on this test. 85 is insane. And on daylight, we were doing approximately a 74. So again, very, very good. Better color, which is why one of the biggest things we're saying is brighter, lighter, and better color than basically all the industry competition on the board right now. And again, we know we have to do this because we are late to the party. So last thing we're coming in with is we are Aputure. If you know, we came from the bottom and we came from working our way up and making fixtures bit by bit. We used to make LED panels for a lot of the camera manufacturers out there. Bit by bit, our lights got larger and bigger and more powerful. And one of the reasons why we're so proud about this light is because not only is this a light that we have designed to service the high end, and it's been so exciting if we have some of you guys watching here that contributed, some of the ASC guys or the CSC guys, or some of the people that have watched this that are shooting major motion pictures that have helped advise on this light. If you're watching this, thank you for the feedback, of course. But in addition to being able to service the high end, one of the things that is kind of a core value of Aputure is making sure that we provide things that are affordable for the owner-operator. We want to make sure that for you guys out there, that you're able to afford the best tools out there and not have to pay the equivalent of a car or a house or something on this. So as far as the pricing goes of the Nova, we can bring up that slide real quick. The final thing here is the actual price. Price here is $16.99 for the actual Nova P300c. Softbox is $149, and then the full kit is $18.99. That includes just the case. That's the only difference. Has a hard shell rolling case. Okay, so we talked about a lot of these features. We've already talked about what this does in a lot of senses, but let's jump real quick over to a couple of features I want to show today. So when you go into the Nova, you've got, of course, your light modes here. So when I go through, we'll pop in real quick so you can see. I've got my power button here on the side, so this is how this works. I can turn this on and off. And when I turn this on, I'm going to leave this at under 1% all day, because when I get any brighter than 1% here, I'll show you real quick. That is, that's 15%. So we're going to bring that back down, and I'm going to take it to 1% so we don't blow out the camera. But when I go here, I have my light modes, and there's a couple ways I can control this. So we have talked before about CCT, which lets me control by color temperature, and I can do approximately 2,000 to 10,000. We've talked before about HSI, which is hue, saturation, intensity, which means that if I want to change my intensity, if I want to change my hue, I can change that here. If I want to change my saturation, I have a 360-degree saturation hue wheel that I can actually do here. And I'm going to get more into these features in a little bit, but I want to talk about some of the features that I think we haven't seen already. So a couple features that we haven't seen are effects, RGB, and XY. Now, let's start real quick with XY, because I'm going to get back to this in a minute. Now, what XY means is that basically on an actual color chart, there is an X and a Y coordinate. You can graph basically every color on an X and Y coordinate. And if we're going to do that, in that case, we go to XY, and what we can do is we can actually measure the exact X and the exact Y coordinate in math class, if you think about this. We can program in that color to make sure that this recreates the exact color on board. Now, this is something we talk to a lot of DPs about, a lot of high-end users. They want to measure the exact quality of light, get that exact color, be able to recreate it, and then punch in that number to all of theirs here. So how this works is if I want to tune in an X coordinate here, and I can tune in a Y coordinate here, I can get all of that as well. Now, I'm going to come back to this feature in a little bit, but I just want to point this out and show it to people because this is something that you can do in addition to, of course, the other high-end features like DMX here on the bottom and being able to control all of that. Now, in addition to that, the next feature that I want to show real quick is Source. Now, Source, I think, has had a couple questions. People are not sure exactly what it does, but I think it's kind of self-explanatory. You click on Source, and what this is going to do is it's going to have a full list of different light sources that we have already programmed into the light. And what you can do is you can recreate any of these colors automatically. So you don't need to memorize what does a green stoplight. What is the color of a green stoplight? All I have to do, if I want to get a green stoplight, is I can actually just pop on over here. I can zoom in real quick, find a color, and say, oh, look, there's a green traffic light. Just like that, automatically I have the color pre-programmed in, ready to go. Say yellow? No problem. Red? Why not? Super fast, super easy. Now, we've built in other things like Christmas lights. We built in black light, which is actually something that we're going to be talking about with Adam when he comes on, which is super exciting as well, too. But this is a mode that I think more people need to be checking out because we have blowtorch and all these things. So when you're trying to recreate light, a lot of the time it's motivated. We're trying to motivate a fire light, or trying to motivate Christmas lights, or a green neon coming from a 7-Eleven or something like that. Here is all of that built in and ready to go. So super, super fast, super quick. We got candle here, of course, as you can see. Now, I'm going to hop on over to the actual app. Now, if you go to the menu here, there's a couple of functions that I think people have some questions about. One, fan mode. We know what this does already. Fan versus force versus auto. Auto basically just means that it has a temperature. It actually has a thermometer inside of there. When the temperature gets too high, it'll turn on and off. Force means that you're forcing it to be on all the time. Now, likewise, I can go to dimming curves. When I go to dimming curves, this basically means that when I dim my light, you can choose which preset you like the best. Some people like an ease in, ease out, so that when they dim to the highest end, it kind of slows down as it gets to that highest point. But in the case here, you have a logarithmic curve, you have an exponential curve, you have a linear curve, and you can pick any of these. Normally, we'll go with linear. That means that every percent that we change, that means that the light will change the same amount of intensity every percent as we go up. And what's cool is that we actually program this in, because a lot of the time, when you have a light that turns up and down, it's not actually linear. If I change from 30 to 40, it's not going to give me the same amount of brightness increase as when I change from 40 to 50. So we did the math here already. We programmed this into here. We've already programmed all of our LEDs to make this work. So this is an option that you have in as well. Now, frequency selection. I've gotten some questions on this as well. So what does frequency selection mean? Frequency selection basically means that a normal light has kind of a pulse wave modulation of approximately 20,000 hertz. So all of our lights, all Aputure lights, have approximately a 20,000 hertz pulse wave modulation. And what that means is that you will be able to shoot theoretically speaking, and again, people have tested this already, up to about 1,000 frames per second, no problem on anything. Sometimes when you go higher than 1,000 frames per second, when you're shooting at an extremely fast shutter speed, some lights will tend to flicker. And again, Aputure lights have already been proven to not flicker. The slow-mo guys use us. If you guys have seen Beyond Slow Motion, the channel over there, Darren Dick's amazing. Any of those channels, they already use Aputure lights. But if you're shooting like super fast, slow motion phantom stuff, one of the things that you can do is we have this frequency selection mode. So it starts at 20,000 hertz, but every single one of these that I change will change the actual pulse wave modulation of the light approximately 200 hertz. And what that means is that if you are shooting something and you're getting a little bit of flicker when you're shooting that super, super high frame rate stuff, again, niche stuff here, but we want to make sure that you're covered. This will actually make sure that I can change my frequency and my pulse wave modulation just enough to make sure that I'm not flickering and not seeing that. So this will be able to handle that issue there. So for all you Nova out there, you now know how to use this. Finally, the last thing we're going to talk about here is Bluetooth reset. What this is going to let us do is that we're actually going to be able to reset here. And when I do this, I can actually change and sync something like this onto my phone. So real quick, I've got my phone, and I'm going to show you real quick just the options that the phone will do. So for you guys out there that don't know, there is Sidus Link here. I'm going to do this. That's so bright here. I've got my intensity here. A couple of different options here. I said I was going to talk about this before, but gel mode is something that I've been seeing a lot. So when you go to gel, you can pick between your CTO, CTB. Really easy to pick here. But I can also go one over here, and this is the one that I really want to show people, is gel mode here. You already have all this built into the controller box ready to go. But if I want to pick even more precise gels beyond that, what I can do is actually click right here, and I will actually be able to see a full visual cue of any gel that I want to be able to pull. And it's actually categorized, ready to go on the top. Over 300 industry standard gels built in. So if I want to pick something like, let's say, urban sodium, just like that, I can recreate that light. And again, I don't have to just memorize it by name. I can actually just look at the colors and see whatever kind of suits my fancy. If I want to go, oh, let's say rose pink, done, just like that. Super, super fast, fully customizable. And again, I'm kind of operating here at 1% the whole day because this gets too darn bright otherwise. Okay, we're back at 1%. Okay, now in addition to XY, XY I showed you before, there was a graph that could be seen here. And right here on XY, there's another compatible place here. So this is, again, that color chart that I was showing you. And what I can do is in XY, I don't only have to go by the actual XY coordinates, which I can program in here, but I can actually just drag my finger around the XY space here, and the light will actually automatically recreate whatever color I need at this time. Now, if I go over here, you're going to see 3 different modes here. And for people out there that are wondering, what do these 3 different modes mean? A gamut. So A gamut stands for Aputure gamut. This just means that these are all the colors that the Aputure Nova can actually recreate. This is the widest possible color range that the light is capable of doing. Now, within this triangle, you've got actual kind of usable colors that are important. You've got DC P3, and DCI P3 basically is a standard monitor color space. So if you have a monitor, especially kind of a coloring monitor, something like that, guaranteed it's probably working on a P3 color space. So these are all the colors that are actually reproducible in a P3 color space, and it's actually smaller than the A gamut, as you can see right there. Finally, on the bottom here, I have BT709. So this is Rec 709 for people out there that are familiar with shooting in actual log formats and things like that. This is actually all of the colors that are visible within the Rec 709 format, so you can actually reproduce colors via that way as well. So now you know what XY does. Now you see the X and the Y coordinate. And again, if I want to change that, I can just program that into here, no problem. Okay. Last thing I want to show real quick before we move on. Actually, there's 2. One is color picker, which is something that I think we've shown before. But color picker basically means that if I want to go around and find something in this set that I like, and I want to shoot the color of it, let's say I like that red light in the back there. If I want to recreate that color, I can shoot that with the camera on my phone and automatically recreate that color in real time, anytime where I am. And I can actually record colors like that too. So if I want to build this in, Sidus Link not only lets me capture colors, recreate them, pick them, but I can actually record effects. I can record a fire or a cop car sequence, except that there's already a cop car sequence built into here. But I can record things like a sunset, a color change, and I can replay and play back those things. Now, likewise, the Nova doesn't have this yet, but it is, of course, coming in a firmware update. Because this is a Sidus Link compatible app, that means that the Nova will be able to be powerable via the entire Sidus ecosystem. So if I want to do something like this, for instance, this is Magic Program. Magic Program is already available for lights such as the MC right here, and I want to actually be able to do a chase sequence or something like that, something a little bit more pixel mappable. I can actually rebuild in something, so I've got something here programmed ready to go. So you can check in the wide here, I've actually got a bunch of MCs, and I've even got well, these are unreleased products right now, but these are some bulbs that are operating on the same thing. And we've actually programmed in a full sequence here that will actually change colors as I do this. And I can change this however I want. I can save them. I can load up other ones. So if I hit pause right there, I'm going to load up a new one. I've got, you were watching Taste the Rainbow. What if we do just, let's do this. How about an orange offset pulse? That sounds good to me. So orange offset pulse, we're going to run that. And now behind me, you can see all the lights have changed to this kind of orange pulse that's going to be looping and recreating the entire time. So this is fully functionable already. And again, as far as Magic Program and being able to record effects and things like that, absolutely coming to the Nova. This is one of the benefits of using the Aputure ecosystem, is that all of your lights, your MCs, your 120Ds, your 300Ds, your Nova, everything can be powerful via this app, and it is a free app as well. Okay, I think I went through a lot of the kind of higher end features of the light. Now let me say real quick, if you have questions about the lights and you have additional, you've been playing around with the light, you want to see more features on how they work on that sense, we will be able to go over that in a minute. But I don't want to waste any more time because we have a guest that I'm really excited about that's coming out of the show. Real quick, again, for people that are just tuning in that haven't seen already from the beginning, we got Adam coming on from Lightbulb Grip, coming in from New York. We got Cameron coming on from Light Modifiers over in Chicago. Again, we're talking with a couple rental houses today to actually go through a couple of features that you might not already know about with the Nova and talk about a couple of things in research that people have been doing. So without much further ado, guys, hit some heart buttons or something along those lines. Help me give some love to our guest coming on, Adam Richland. Alrighty. Hey, Adam, how's it going? What's up? 1 second, I'm getting audio. You got audio for me? One moment. All righty, good to go. Sorry, 1 second, Adam. We're not hearing you real quick.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Hey, yes, we got you. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All righty, sounds
Hi.
good. How's it going, Adam? How you doing? Doing good.
Good. Good.
Sure.
It's another hot day in New York.
Yeah, for
I got
sure.
some of our toys. We got a 300D2 and a 300X and our new Nova. So thank you for sending this over. We've been playing with it for a little while now. Having fun with it.
Yeah, so Adam rocks. He's fantastic. If you are in the New York area and you don't already know Adam and Lightbulb, go check them out. They're amazing, super knowledgeable people over there. So today we want to talk real quick about the Nova and some research that you've been doing on it. So can you tell us a little bit about kind of the tests that you were doing last night?
Yeah, so we've been having fun. I have a friend, a DP friend, Ari Miller, who we one of the Novas went out to. So he shot a music video with it in blacklight. And we thought it was really cool, and I had not seen that done with an LED before. And so I said, we should do a test. And so I've been talking with a couple of friends, Tim Kang, another color science guy, and he works Quasar. We're all friends. Yeah. So we were talking about how UV works and blacklight works for LEDs. And so I decided to set up a bunch of units, do some tests. I want to talk to you guys about color science today. It's going to get a little technical.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so for people out there that are wondering how to do blacklight effects and things like that, this is, I think, a new kind of world that opens up for the Nova. So let's talk about it. Let's go through it.
Yeah. So the Nova does have a blacklight feature, but at the time of doing this, we had just popped the unit out of its box. I didn't know that, so I tested it by setting a color setting on the unit. But we'll go through that when I get to. We're going to show you some side-by-side tests of some different fluorescent lights that we worked with. Or UV lights. All right, let me just switch to sharing my screen.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Got a little demo to go through. Okay, so we're going to start with some basics, and then we're going to go to a little bit more tech stuff. We're not going to get into too much math. It's just going to be stuff you guys can see pretty easily. So on the left, we have a hue wheel, and this is Newton's original color circle. The first time we defined color as a circle, and how colors were related. This happened in 1704. He originally thought that color was related to sound, and so you see some letters around the outside. Those are musical notes. But that was the basis for how we started creating hue. And so when you see hue, it's measured in degrees. On the light, you're going to be dialing a number in degrees, and that number is related to where it was on the circle. On the right, you have the visible light spectrum. This is more modern science diagram showing you from 370 to 750 nanometers how we see light. Now, but it's really important for the rest of the discussion that we this is the modern Q wheel that I was talking about before. But it's really important that we know that the degrees that you're seeing on the Q wheel don't correlate, those numbers don't correlate to the spectrum. So we're going to be talking a bunch about nanometers and light spectrum, but I don't want you to try to tie those numbers to what we see on the dial on the NOVA fixture itself. These numbers are going to be the same whether you're dealing with a sky panel, some of the light mats products, like they're all using the same Q wheel, but let's not confuse them with nanometers. So I'll make sure that we put NM next to all of our numbers.
Yeah.
All right. So, I have an example of the blue on what we see on the left doesn't necessarily correlate with, if you look at the visible light spectrum, roughly 460 nanometers is blue. Those numbers don't connect it. Okay. So in the spectrum that we're looking at, we'll see on the left half of the diagram from 370 to about 400, 410, it's all black because the human eye can't see light down the but you still can get waves that are down, as we call ultraviolet. As we start getting into between 400 and 425-ish, you get some deep purple and regular violet, and then get up into. We got the whole rest of the spectrum up on the right, but we're not going to deal with that one too much today.
Yeah. Today's all about UV.
So,
we're talking about the bottom end of that spectrum.
Yeah. So all the way down at the bottom of 370 is true UV. It's invisible, and it causes fluorescence. So we have neon things that makes them light up. I think everyone probably has seen a black light music video, something like that, where you see fluorescence. Now, when you look at black light, you see it glowing purple, like a true black light. We're not talking about LEDs right now. We're talking about old school units with bulbs in them. When they're glowing, they glow this deep purple, and that's the top end of what the light's able to put out is just showing a little bit of purple, and it's just barely visible to humans. And then the light doesn't give you any more output above that. So the whole visible spectrum is this.
And this is why black lights generally have that kind of purple look to humans. So if you go to Spencer's gift store or any of these places or Vans or something like that and get a black light, that's why it looks purple to the eye, because we're just seeing that bottom bit before it turns invisible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you'll see the curve. I drew a rough demonstration curve. This is not like true science. This is just giving you an idea that most of our output is in the lowest end of the spectrum, but we still have a little bit above that 406 arrow where we're seeing a little bit of output. That's that dull purple light that you can barely make out. Now, when we deal with RGB units and LEDs, we're dealing with a different kind of problem because now we have to try to recreate that super I won't say dark color, but it's actually super UV color with the red, green, and blue elements in a lamp. And red, green, and blue are three separate LEDs that are each, the only thing you can do is give each color more output or less output. And the mix of them in the middle makes our color mix and gives us our output. But we don't have a purple LED. We don't have an ultraviolet LED in any modern LED fixture, except for there are a couple like super specific blacklight only units that are made for like theater. But other than that, most of our general purpose stuff that you're playing with, we don't have a true LED, or a true purple LED. So what we instead do is most units are taking that blue LED and they're just putting all of their power into producing blue. And when they do that, on the bottom, there's this little bit of output that happens in the blue, in the ultraviolet range. And that little bit of output, it creates just enough in that low range that we can start seeing fluorescent response from neon things, whether that's ultraviolet paint or neon. And we're going to use a demo later with neon colored gaff tape. Anything that has that fluorescent kind of feel to it, you'll get enough of a glow that it's useful.
So that's super important. It's so basically you're saying that the LED bulbs, the blue channel itself is actually possible. It actually does recreate and actually does produce a little bit of UV light that can react in the same way that a regular black light works.
Yes. Now note that all the way down at 370 where we're getting true UV, that doesn't happen with LEDs, at least not yet. But we are getting some of that where we were saying we had purple haze before. We're getting some output in that range. And that's just enough to get neon things to just put some out and we get a neon response. So, but the drawback to doing that, and we'll see if it's drawback or not, is that we have to put out a lot of blue light to make that little bit of purple. So all of that blue light is still going out and bouncing around on the film set as well. So I decided to pull some stills from Ari's project to use before we'll get into some of my demo stuff in a bit. But here's a clip from his music video, or a still frame. And so this is from an artist named Gracie Grace. I want to make sure we always shout out our crew guys who are doing an amazing job. So that all their Instagram handles are up there if you want to take a look into their work. Ari at Ari Miller Films, he's got some great stuff up there. He's been a wonderful customer of ours over the years and has done a lot of interesting projects.
And this was shot
this music
with
video
a Nova. This was shot with the P300c the entire way. Yeah.
So what you're seeing, the only thing that's with that I know of is a Nova itself. Now, I made another copy that it's a Photoshop estimation of what that same shot would have looked like if you did it with a true blacklight. Now, note earlier on I said that most of the blacklight's output is outside the visible range, and it's outside a camera's visible range as well. So we're seeing the phosphorescent response from that UV light, but nothing else is giving us a reflected UV emission. Or reflected visible light emission, I should say. All the UV's bouncing around, and it's banging around the whole set, but none of that comes up into the visible light range. So there's two different kinds of effects that are happening here. The upper one, you're getting a wide, a wide luminance response from so you can see the whole set, and the camera's able to pick up what's going on all over. And then on the bottom one, you're blacking out most of the set and only seeing the fluorescent response.
Yeah.
So it depends on which kind of look you want to create. More often than not nowadays, though, we want the upper one. The upper one feels more like club. It feels more like what you usually use blacklight for. Some wild, crazy party with fluorescent colors, but you want to be able to see what's happening. Every once in a while, rarely you'll want to do like there's a classic series. I'm trying to think. It was like America's Got Talent, the group of dancers that like had neon body paint on, and they blacked out the whole studio just to true blacklights and couldn't see anything. That's one of the few times when you would actually want the world to be black around it. Most often you want the upper frame, and that's what we're doing with the Nova.
So there's two parts of this frame that we're looking at here. So for people out there that are looking at this and can't pull it apart, one is the fluorescent response. So the actual way that the UV light is bouncing off of the fluorescent light and making it glow in that kind of supernatural looking way. And then the second part is that very low purple violet response that looks like a natural black light club or something like that. And the Nova provides both of those, but normally you would have to bring a UV light and you'd also have to bring some kind of blue light to be able to expose the rest of the frame, right? That's the problem in the bottom one.
Yes. So if you wanted to create the upper one with classic lights without using a Nova, you'd need to use two different sources. One of them that's in the visible range, and one of them that's in the blacklight range. But the problem is blacklight is super easy to drown out. It only takes a little bit of visible light before the blacklight response becomes useless pretty quickly. So it takes a really experienced and complicated amount of work for your DP to try to build that with a gaffer and do tests and to create that two light balance. Versus taking the Nova, you set it to down in the blue range. We were testing it with 244 degrees hue and turning up the intensity, and we got a pretty good blacklight looking image without any of that work. Just turn on the light and go. Yeah. Now, I had another frame where I was just showing you that the light around is what we before were calling the messy blue spill, but now that blue spill has become useful when you know how to use it as an artistic tool.
Super.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And that frame is beautiful, by the way. So guys, go follow Ari's work. Really, really good looking stuff, and it's cool to see these kinds of exciting frames appearing so quickly after launch. It's awesome. Really, really cool.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting this to be the thing that was going to become like my science project for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But this is fascinating. Yeah, I enjoy this science. Okay, so another thing I should talk about is health and safety with UV. So classic UV bulbs. Let's talk about first true blacklight, which is going to be your tungsten sources that we're modifying to only show UV output. And so we take an HMI or a Kino bulbs that are designed for blacklight, and you're going to get a lot of output in that 370 nanometer range where you can't see, but that's really toxic to humans. And so we always send out safety notices that let people, producers and crew, know that if you start feeling nauseous under those lights, numbness in your hands or face, inability to focus, dizziness, stuff like that, that happens with the old school black lights.
Yeah.
Because of that wash of UV that your body doesn't really know how to handle. Also, it can lead to skin cancer, melanoma. Same way if you're at the beach, you get a lot of UV light. It's the same problem.
Yeah.
But what we also found in my conversations with some of the color science guys I was working with was that the Nova, most of its output is in the blue range, if you remember, not all the way down there. So there's very little of the damaging UV light needed. So most of that light is in a safe range. So we're not getting the nausea, we're not getting numbness, we're not getting the skin cancer problems that we would if we were on a true black light set.
Yeah.
So I noticed when we were doing this test yesterday that as soon as we turned on a black light, within a minute or two, I started feeling it. I've known that from having done a bunch of black light shoots over the years, that black light gets to me really badly. But we had the Nova on for like 45 minutes and more with no issue whatsoever. And that's what gave me the idea to point this out. That's the black light is a safer option for crew and talent than trying to use true UV light. The Nova gets the same thing done. It's easier to work with and doesn't make people sick.
Absolutely.
So that kind of came out of the process of trying this thing and having conversations about it, and I just noticed this as I went. So, all right, let's jump to, I also wanted to do a head-to-head with a blacklight emissions test so you can see what happens when we put different kind of units against each other. So I had a clip of a control in daylight and a true UV in the Aputure.
So this is a good way to see between different
wait,
fixtures.
I gotta,
what does it actually look like when the UV light's going?
Give me 1 second to stop sharing my screen.
Uh-huh.
And so you guys can throw up the
We've got the photo.
video. You have it?
Yes. So on the left here, we're seeing the Nova. In the middle, we're seeing a control. This is what regular daylight looks like under this source. And then on the far right, we're seeing just what a true UV light looks like. And of course, when we look at this, what looks the most similar to our human eye when we see this kind of effect is, generally speaking, the far left. And it's because we're getting that purple, we're getting that blue, but we're also getting the pop from those fluorescent lights that are actually coming off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I actually can't see what you guys are looking. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it in another window. Okay, so we have the control is just a regular daylight. We just shot it with our general warehouse lights on. On the right, we see we didn't get any response from anything that wasn't already a fluorescent or neon color. So another interesting thing I noticed was that you'll see on the bottom, in the center, there is a section that says reference white. On the true HMI, you can't see the label. You can only see the white because of the bleaching and whiteners that they use in paper, in like regular printer paper, to make them appear whiter. Yeah. That fluoresces, but the little P-touch label we used didn't fluoresce. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, they naturally mix bleach into the actual color stock, the paper stock itself, to make it actually pop, and you're seeing that reaction from the UV light.
Yeah. So up at the top, there are two control strips, and those are just paper tape in green and red. And so you see when we go to the Aputure, the Nova, that the green and red are lost a little bit because the only output we're getting out of the unit is almost all in the blue range. We get a little bit of red. You can just see the difference, but it's not that much. So if you're planning on building a scene in blacklight, you want to live in the blue and red world, but green is pretty much lost unless it's a fluorescent.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. And then you also have a comparison between different fixtures as well, too, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, just one more thing I was going to mention is you also see that the on the black paper square, that are matte black reference, we get a lot of blue in our blacks. And so it takes some color correcting work to get true blacks out of a blacklight scene. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up in camera looking at a kind of muddy look for your lower range. You're going to get you either have to monitor for it and build your button camera beforehand, and do some test work and prep stuff beforehand, or you just have to shoot it looking a little bit muddy, knowing that you're going to bring that dark range down in post over to.
And that's because you don't have enough light. You just don't have enough information coming into the camera to begin with to be able to expose and get that info that you need.
Yeah, so it gets a little muddy. We can also adjust intensity. I didn't have time to test different kinds of intensities on the light, so we set the thing to full and then adjusted the camera to fit. Let's take a look at. I have another test that's 3 units up at the same time. We have a Sky Panel S30 versus a Nova versus the Light Matte Spectrum 2.
I love this. This is awesome. We can see when we're programmed into trying to recreate something similar to that blacklight effect, which each one looks like side by side. And they all produce a little bit of UV light, a little bit for each one.
Yes. So our UV response is relatively similar in the 3 fluorescent lines across the top half. We're getting roughly the same color. We get a lot of green spill happening in the sky panel. And for some reason, when we go into deep blue with the sky panel, you also get some green LED response as well. Sometimes that's useful, sometimes it's not. But I noticed that when we looked at that frame, the total frame, when we just shot the background of our whole warehouse and everything, it definitely felt a little bit more like a green world than it did
blue world. Yeah.
So the left panel is from right on that. Yeah, the left panel is the Aputure Nova, and that gave us a really good balance between output exposure for the blue and for the rest of the world, and particularly that glow in the fluorescent. The Spectrum S2 came pretty close, but overall the amount of fluorescent response that we found was, I'd say, about 15 to 20% less than what I got Nova.
Yeah, absolutely. I want people to do this test for every color across the board. Believe me, I love this test. This is fantastic. Guys, go test the hue wheel and push the saturation and try to see which colors you can get the most accurately, the most faithfully, that reproduce the amount of saturation that you want to be able to see in real life. It's so cool that you did this test. Really, really awesome stuff.
So I had a conversation, it was part of our conversation with Tim Kang, and we realized that there isn't that much research in the world yet in this end of the field in like the true nitty-gritty math science and the color science. And so this is going to be a research project for me to dig deeper into. So it started out as a little thing.
Can we get some thumbs up for that real quick? Adam is going to write a thesis paper on this topic that we're talking about here, talking about the spectral response of black light in addition to this. So guys, go give Adam some love. These are we're talking about pioneers here that are working really hard to be able to push the color science of lighting. And this topic, if you got some interest or you learned something new from this, definitely really interesting stuff to see there as well. So you're going to be working on this paper for the next couple months.
Yeah, I gotta start digging into it. I got a lot to learn about this as well. So it seemed like we were a little light on the math. Yeah, because that stuff's still got to come. It doesn't exist in the world yet. I got to go figure it out. So it's probably going to be a larger project that I'll have to maybe we can come back with you guys and present again in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's any way we can support, of course, we're always behind it. You talked about the MITC Color Committee. We're a part of that as well, too. Whatever we can do to be able to push kind of the forward and be able to advance a little bit more in the actual color science of it all. You and Tim are great at this. Really, really good to see the stuff. Real quick, I want to talk about your rental house as well, too. So you operate Lightbulb. Can you tell people real quick a little bit about the rental house and kind of what does the Nova actually mean for rentals for someone like you?
Yeah, so most of my world at Lightbulb Urban Electric is we do a lot with indie and small projects that are up to, let's say, 3 to 5 days long, and a lot of young crew members who are figuring out artistic projects that are doing music videos, little commercials. And so I spend a lot of time teaching and talking and advising for young filmmakers on how to use products and like being a gaffer on call, I guess, for figuring out how to make things happen. So one of the great things that we started doing because of COVID is that we would do walk-in demos. Like if you want to try playing with something, you call ahead, and you come in, you can play with a piece of hardware. But nowadays, it's a little tougher for people to come in person. So we're offering Zoom calls and Skype calls where you can call in and watch it. We'll stand here and play with the buttons, and you can see what happens.
Guys,
it's a little hard to see
That's awesome. Real quick, I just want to emphasize how awesome that is. So out there, if you are watching this, if you're especially an English speaker, call if you want to be able to make the connection. If you're curious about the Nova, or you're curious really about any kind of lighting fixture out there, Adam's offering basically the ability to call in and be able to do demos with kind of the staff members and be able to check out the lights yourself. So if you can't afford a lot of the stuff, that's why it's so good to have a good connection with the rental house. Definitely, it would be dumb not to take advantage of that kind of thing and reach out and be able to do it. So it's a cool service that you're offering. Yeah.
Yeah, I think education is the most important thing, especially as a rental house. The more our customers know, the more our gaffers and our DPs know, the more they're able to do, and the more they're able to use their tools in a smarter and sharper way. So let's help everybody get smart. It's in all of our best interest to build a community. So at Lightbulb, also we do a lot of package rentals. I was also going to talk about pricing with you. We do a lot of package rentals where we send out like a sky panel and a joker to go do a commercial project. Classic. But nowadays, as projects are getting, the budgets are getting tighter, and we're trying to fit more into like smaller vehicles and with less crew. I'm starting to see a lot more rentals for the 300s, and hopefully soon when the 600 comes out, replacing the Joker unit and our Nova Bone. And so the two of them are both bringing the price range down in the market. As a rental house, we still make a good amount of profit on those rentals. Important, but overall, for the customer, it gets to be less expensive to get the same things done. So I think it's a really useful thing. We now can offer a budget music video package that's got lots of sharp source options and a rainbow options as well, and you can get the whole thing done in $500-600.
Yeah.
So
this is the dream, right? The dream is to make it easier for creatives to do what they do best, and to be able to, there's a different tool for different jobs, right? And this is why when you talk to lighting companies, they're all friends, is because you never go onto a grip truck and there's just one brand of lighting. It just doesn't really happen. It's always a mix of a bunch of other stuff. So for us, our priority has always been trying to make things affordable, and it's awesome to hear that people have been coming in, renting the kits and stuff like that. That's really cool. Yeah.
So we just got our Nova. We've started playing with it ourselves, and we're going to get it out on shop starting tomorrow. So it starts moving already.
God, it sounds good. So, okay, people that are in New York, make sure you definitely go check out Lightbulb Grip and Electric. Go say hi to Adam Richland. Make sure you swing by sometime or give him a Zoom call or something along those lines. There are Novas there already in stock. But I think that's it. Adam, you got anything else for us?
I think I'm good. It's been great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for coming on to the chat. Guys, give Adam some love. Let me check real quick. Oh, do we have any questions for Adam? Let me see real quick. Do we got any? Got some love from David Donaldson. Frederica is saying hello as well, too. Everyone's, I think, very excited. Okay.
Donaldson, I helped him when we were getting started with Grip Tips. It's one of my favorite channels on the internet.
He's the best.
If any of you guys haven't checked out Grip Tips on YouTube, you really should.
Go check him out. As a Lightbulb Grip Tips, go check him out. A lot of people here in the comments saying, Adam! So thanks for the love in the comments, guys. It's good to see you. Okay. Adam, it was so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Nova. Thank you for sharing the research. And guys, go give Adam some love as well, too. Cool?
Thanks.
All right. See you later. For sure. Bye-bye. All righty, cool. So we're going to be hopping over to light modifiers in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about intensity and brightness and exactly what does that mean. Now, in the meanwhile, though, I want to go through just one more feature that I ran out of time that I wanted to show you guys here. But that real quick is the effects mode. So again, before we showed a couple things for Sidus here, I can actually go over and I can swap through and pick whatever fixtures I want. Here I've got all those fixtures in the back. So if I want to do my little chase sequence again, I'll turn that on. All of my lights are here in the back, and they're all doing this kind of mode that I set here on Magic Program. Now, likewise, if I want to move from Magic Program and do some other stuff here, I want to show a couple of the other functions that have already been built into the Nova. So I'm going to pause that in the back there real quick. I'm going to go to my Nova, which I'm going to click right here at the bottom. That's the Nova. Clicking on that. And when I go to Nova, I want to show people how the effects work real quick, because I think there is a little bit of questions about that. So I can do this either way. I can do this from the actual controller box itself too. But when I go into the controller box and I pick my effects, there's actually a lot of different ways I can control my effects. So right now I've got something like explosion. So some of my effects will loop. They'll repeat randomly. Other effects I can actually set to trigger. So explosion is one that when I click this button, it will actually trigger the explosion there automatically. Or I can hit it twice and I can hit it again. and it'll do this on my own command, or I can set this to loop. Likewise, if I want to change the color of my explosion from red to white light, I can actually change that all here as well too. So now you guys understand that there's actually multiple ways to draw your color, pick your color, and actually change your decay. So all the effects that are built into the Nova are totally customizable, ready to go. And they're built and designed not just to be repeating and looping things, because I don't know what action sequence has gunshots that go. That never makes sense. It always goes on some kind of off-timed thing, or always to be replaced in that way. So this will actually allow you to be able to recreate those effects at different timings, and I can trigger it however I want to trigger them at whatever speed I want to trigger them. So really cool thing there for effects. And again, this is, out of all the Aputure lights that we have, this is the most built-in effects, period. Most customizable effects here. And then again, you will be able to do recorded effects. You'll be able to use a phone to be able to record different hue, saturation, intensity changes, to be able to recreate that as well too. So custom effects, one of the things I wanted to show off for this if you haven't played with it already. Okay, but we're gonna hop on real quick. We got a buddy coming onto the show. Help us give a super warm welcome to a great person. Real quick, this is Cameron from Light Modifiers over in Chicago. Hit some hearts, give some love to him real quick. Cameron, it's good to see you.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you, man.
How you doing? Doing good. Keeping busy. You know, Corona's a little crazy, but we're able to be here and talk to people, which is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love your setup. I like all the colors.
This is Brando and Benny over here putting in the work to make us look good. I think there's a lot of pressure, right? You're a lighting company. You have to look decent.
Right? Absolutely.
For sure. Cameron, real quick, you guys have been doing a lot of really interesting research on brightness, and I think more importantly than even the brightness is the spread and the fall off of this kind of thing. Can you tell some of the people that are watching kind of the work that you guys have been doing here?
Absolutely. So, Light Modifiers were a smaller house based out of the Midwest of Chicago, and kind of we're seeing all of these LED lights advance quicker than ever. It's almost like how cameras were, 10 years ago, and it's just like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so overwhelming, and we're trying to find that, if you have 5 panels, they're not all the same. Mm-hmm. And they all do something different, and they all can be used in a different application. So, we started this Learn with LMR, which is a third-party light testing that allows people to put lights up to one another to see, okay, which is brighter, which has better color, which is better distribution, because so many people necessarily talk about brightness or intensity, but like for me, the 120-degree beam angle on this light is the most exciting part, and I feel like that's all I
agree with you. I totally agree with you. But people don't look at it that way. They always look at it like, oh, what's the brightest point? What's the 1 meter reading or the 3 meter reading? So,
right, yeah.
Why is that the case, and why is the 120-degree beam angle so exciting? Because I think it's exciting too, but I see the comment ranges, and it's always brightness or gels or something like that. What's the reason for you?
So for me, it's how you use it. So like, it's all about, if you want soft light, it's evenly filling up that diffusion, and kind of brought. I don't. Do you have the comparison? That little thing I made, the graphs.
Yeah, chance? Absolutely. We're going to bring those up. Brandon, if you can bring up some comparisons. All right. So this is a Nova, a 300X, and then a Gemini 2x1. And this is
so you kind of see there how the light spreads and how even it is, and obviously the 300X or the 300 is a hard light, and the Nova and Gemini are soft lights. But even looking at the Gemini versus the Nova, like there's still a difference, and it might not be always noticeable, but like depending on how you're using that, it can be a matter of getting your shot or not. So one of the examples we kind of thought of is like if you have your 300X that does bright color, and then you have Nova, and you're trying to create soft light, but unfortunately you might not have your light dome. Mm-hmm. So now at 1 meter, the 300X puts out twice as much luminance as the Nova, but it's hard light. Mm-hmm. So in order to soften it, you have to throw it through diffusion. Mm-hmm. To get that nice even distribution of 4x frame, you have to have the 300X a little over a meter away, and even further if you want to fill a larger frame. What happens is as you back the light up, you get less of it. It's just the square inverse law. So the 300X is naturally brighter than the Nova at 1 meter, but when you put the Nova through a 4x frame, you can put that nova 0.75 meters from that frame. And again, a quarter meter might not seem like much, but at those close distances, fall off really impacts luminance. And this even distribution makes the nova an ideal soft source to like supplement all great hard source lights. So if you're going to key, you can get more out of a nova shooting through something than you could out of a 300x, even though that 300x is twice as bright.
Let me emphasize this. I want to nail this point home because we get this question so much. It's when people out there, and I'm really just rephrasing what you said, just to make sure that people hear this point one more time. When we're talking about brightness and people do a reading, we're really just talking about one point in space in which we're getting that reading. And that one point in space can be significantly brighter or dimmer depending on the beam angle of the light. So if we have a hard light, naturally the light is all being focused in one narrow area, and we're going to get a much higher reading as opposed to the total amount of light that's coming out of something. So you can have a light that's a lot wider, that spits out more light overall, but when you get that reading that's just at one point, it's going to seem like it's not as bright. And the amount by which that can change is huge. So you just showed, can we bring up those charts one more time? Because it's really helpful here. You're showing the light across different degrees from the actual light. So the fall off of the actual light, depending on how far off axis I am from the direct point. And what we're showing here is, we get this question all the time, why is it that the lux reading of a 300x is higher than a nova? Well, it is if you're just talking about that point source in space, but if you're talking about something wider, the total amount of lumens coming out of this thing, you're saying a nova is going to be significantly brighter.
Absolutely, and it's something, it's kind of sad that something that is so overlooked, but I mean, it makes sense. It's only been so long, we're so new since we've had this technology at our disposal, and I think the more that us rental houses and cinematographers can help educate others, we can really maximize the tools and be able to take a 1 ton package, or to be able to take a couple small panels and do something that was like unthinkable like years ago or even months ago.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And guys, light modifiers, that you guys do charts like this for basically all of the lights that you rent, which is awesome, because this is what people need to be looking at. They need to look at, don't just look at just the single lumen reading at that one point. I get it. It's deceptive. You want to do it, right? Like, oh, every light should just have a number. Unless you have like a scientific instrument that can measure every photon coming out of a thing, you're not going to be able to rely on a single number to be able to record your intensity here. You're going to want to look at a chart to see how wide is the beam angle, how does the fall off go, and that's how you can see a close one-to-one comparison. So it's super cool to be able to see this one by one here. Can you also talk about real quick, so how does the beam angle compare to other light fixtures that you've seen, and why is 120 again? What are the other uses beyond just diffusing it?
So like even like you can see I have it behind me, like my light is in my small studio, sorry it's kind of dark, but it's facing the wall, and that back wall that you see, like that light's hitting. So, we almost call it like a wash light. Like, what we used to use like the sky panels for is like, we're going to go throw in the ceiling. You just kind of want to create a blanket ambient light places just to fill in. And even more importantly, since it's WWW and it has the impressive color, you can fill in your shadows with color and not necessarily have to add in all these gross shadows, because again, that fun of that diffusion, because it is so evenly lit, you're maximized. So you're not having points, like you're not going to have multiple shadows like you would with, array LEDs going through diffusion. Like it's already soft. So it allows you to kind of fine tune and control your image, which again, as a rental house, you can key through it with a diffusion, but then also have it as a secondary light, or filling in your shadows, or nicely edging it if you want to have like a nice edge that affects not only your subject, but their subject surrounding, so it feels more natural.
Yeah.
Like this opens up the possibility for that, and understanding how a light distributes is so important to kind of give it that authenticity, or creating artificial natural lighting, even though it sounds crazy, but like, it's
yeah, absolutely. And anytime, I think for people that are wondering what is the importance of a beam angle too, think about any time you've gone into a location that's just a little bit narrow, a little bit tight, and you need to fill up a wall, or even it's something that's got low ceilings and you want to do a little ambient light where you bounce some color off the ceiling. Perfect example here. With a wider beam angle, you can be, again, each meter that we're talking about here is important as far as how close do I have to bring that light, or how far do I have to bring that light to make sure that it fully illuminates evenly the top to get a soft kind of hanging light that drops down and lights everything. So I'm excited to see that. Real quick, so what are the other charts? You guys have been doing these charts for a while now, right? What are some of the other
Yeah,
charts
so
people have been seeing? Yeah.
it's learnwithlmr.com, and we're slowly as we're lighting guys, so we're not website guys, so it's a little clunky, and it's kind of designed right now to be used on a desktop, and we're working on a mobile platform that allows it to be more of a tool and a reference that a DP and a gaffer can walk into a room and say, okay, this is how much light I need, and then you can look through the different fixtures and kind of weigh out the options. So like our goal is to be able to create that from tungsten heads to HMIs to LEDs, like hard LEDs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. Well, guys, go check out LMR. By the way, has the Nova? You guys have Novas in stock currently, right?
Yeah. So we got our Nova in, I think, Tuesday, and I already shot a national spot with it yesterday, which is my first time getting like hands on, and I can't wait for the shipments to be more readily available so we can kind of increase the amount, because it's almost like perfect light for a pair. Like I don't know if you ever want to take it out by itself, because I want it with a friend.
So what was if you can't say it, it's okay too, but what was, you just did a national spot with it. What was the lighting setup that you guys are working on with it?
So we were keying with a Felix quad. So it's a big light.
Very punchy.
Very punchy. So, when we need our fill to be punchy.
Yeah.
So like having the ability again with the Nova, with the wide distribution, where you can leave it close without being too sourcey.
Yeah.
And then we had like 3 of the 300Ds and the 300X with the spotlights kind of hitting the kitchen, so that the entire was a kitchen scene without any HMIs. So we were scroll the sun, and like for the first time, like be able to get it. And like I remember with my gaffer, we were looking at the 300X, and like, let's make it a little warmer. And it was so great to have that like hard source, and then just to be able to change it just a little bit.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, so they just came in on Tuesday. You just shot something with them yesterday. They are available to rent right now over at Light Modifiers. So if you guys are watching this and you're in the Chicago area, make sure you go give Cameron and the guys over some love. They're doing some awesome stuff with education too, so make sure you guys check that out as well. Cool. All right, Cameron, you got anything else for us? Other than that, I think we can wrap it up.
Thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity. Again, just like Adam said, education is huge for us, and not only as a rental host, but I think harboring, young filmmakers coming up, and there's just so much. It's just like we want to be able to do our part to, help people navigate, and we love what Aputure is doing, and the user group, and being accessible, and like that's just so cool. And again, if anyone wants to come in for a demo or talk about kind of our interpretations of the Nova, like we're more than happy to kind of take the time and talk more.
Yeah, guys, go give Cameron a call. Seriously, as far as like rental houses doing research to push forward LED technology to understand lighting. Again, I don't think I could have said it better myself, but it's changing so fast. It is changing so fast. There's so much to keep up with, and it's better to hear it from, I think, the source itself, or the people that know the tools the best that are comparing them all. So, dude, Cameron, thank you for the research that you've been doing. Seriously, the charts and stuff that we see in the user group are awesome to be able to see. If you guys aren't in the user group already, go join the Aputure user group. Cameron posts a lot of those charts there as well. You can see them as soon as they come out. But thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having. I appreciate it, man.
See you, man.
Have a good one. Stay safe.
All righty. Cool. All righty, guys. I think that is, those are 2 guests that we're bringing on for the show today. We talked about a couple of new details that I think we haven't talked about before with the Nova. Real quick, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments now. Now is the time to be able to go through a couple of those. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to see the comments too closely right now because I've been talking to the guests here. But real quick, let's scroll through. Brenda or Benny, if you guys have any comments too, just shout them out. That we can do. Give Adam some love again. He's there in the comments. He just said that he was happy to be on the stream. Okay, Adam, we're going to be renting from you early August. Okay, Eli's going to be getting some stuff from Adam. Really excited. Got some Adam fans here, which is great. Fantastic. People loving Cameron's, of course, charts here. Okay, questions. Anybody got anything?
This is a question about the app. Why does the app need access to my location so I can connect to my lights, the Android app?
That is a great question. Why does the app need access to your location to be able to connect that? Brandon, you want to give me a little details on that? I know there's a future reason beyond that as well too, but there's
Basically,
another
it
reason
has
for
to
now.
do with
Yeah.
how the mesh connectivity in Android works. We don't need to know where you are, but Android requires GPS to be turned on for the other lights to be able to find each other.
Okay, so the way, in case you didn't hear that, because the mic I know is on me right now, so I'm going to restate what he said. We don't actually care where you are. I don't think we actually get that information anyways. The information, though, is that the way that Sidus Mesh works, it's a mesh network, meaning that, again, it's not a one-to-one connection from your phone to each light. The reason that's going to work is that each of your lights is actually going to connect and kind of geotag each other. And the reason that that's important is that that's the only way that the mesh network turns on. So for that to happen, Android requires GPS to be turned on for that kind of thing. So again, we don't care about this, but it's the only way to make the Sidus Mesh function. Okay, any other questions?
For the frequency setting, frequency selection is the number 1, unit 1, the 20,000 kilohertz, the 20 kilohertz we were talking about?
Yeah, the question is for frequency selection. I need to check on that actually. Which one is the, I think unit 1 is 20,000.
Yeah.
And then every step you go up beyond that, it is another 200 hertz on the top. Oh, down, I'm sorry, down and out. So it's the maximum, it starts at 220,000, and it goes down per selection that we go. So 2 would be 200 down, 3 would be 400 down as we continue from there. All righty. Let's see, what else do we got? We got some people that are excited about renting fixtures. Guys, seriously, go check out your local rental houses. I don't care where you are in the world. Go visit them, ask them, see if they have a Nova. A lot of people just received theirs yesterday or Tuesday, so spread the word and be excited about it.
Corey's
Okay.
asking, I know this is all about the Nova, but is Magic Program available for intensity effects with the 300D?
It's a great question. So the question is, I know this is about the Nova, but does Magic Program, the thing that I was showing here before, the timeline, does that work for the 300D and the 300X? Easy answer, yes. So you can do intensity changes and you can do things like that. It is not available right now, but it is something that is absolutely coming. So right now, the only fixture that has Sidus Pro effects, which is again Magic Program, custom effects, and recordable effects, are the MCs. However, very, very soon, coming to the Nova, very, very soon coming to 300D Mark II. And again, the entire Aputure ecosystem is going to be able to be powered off of this single program here. Speaking of which, this is not the only way that you can view this. If you want to view this in more ways, there's actually also an iPad function for this as well. So if you want to see the entire thing on a larger iPad, and you'll see more than just 9 windows, you can actually see up to like 25 different windows for different lights. Again, we're trying to give you DMX-like control without having to spend all the money on all the tools, something that you have in your phone for free, ready to go. All right. Questions. I got some people saying that they're out of stock. Yes, the Novas are out of stock in a lot of places right now. However, that being said, second shipment shows up approximately, I believe it's the end of next week. We're going to be shipping a couple more as soon as possible. Globally, just be patient. Please be patient. We're trying to get them out as quickly as we can, but it is kind of a high demand product right now. So walking through it bit by bit. All right, last question here. I think that's it. That's all I've really got here.
I have one more from Dave Donaldson.
Okay, what is it?
For the frequency settings is 1.
Yes, we went over that.
Answered that?
That is correct. Okay, sounds good. I got some questions of people asking, when are you bringing out the bulbs? If you are curious about future Aputure products, whether it's the bulbs, 60D, 60X, other stuff I can't name right now, go check out and join the Aputure user group. That's where we post about this stuff first, where we talk about live streams and announcements for new products. I cannot say a date yet, but it is very, very soon. Some people in the user group have already seen that the bulbs have gone out on a bunch of sets. I think I just saw Johnny Durango was posting on there with his bulbs. He's using it on a Mel Brooks film. We have a couple of people that are shooting Netflix movies right now using them. We've shipped them around the world. There are bulbs on sets right now. However, they're not available to buy right now. They're finishing up kind of the last round of beta testing. We want to make sure this stuff is perfect and ready to go when it comes out, when you guys actually are able to buy it at release. But very, very soon, and at least from everything that we've shown as far as the actual bulbs going, people are very excited about it. So right now it's all green lights ahead. We're working. As soon as we have an update, we will be able to post it soon. Should come pretty soon though. So hang tight.
Federico Montero says he would like to see you mount the softbox.
Federico Montero says he would like to see me mount the softbox. Sure, that's easy. I'm happy to do that. So we'll do this. I'm going to mount the softbox, and then we'll close out right after that. So I am plugged into this chair right now. See here's my IEMs right here. So I'm going to try to do this from a sitting position real quick. But if I want to mount this softbox, all I got to do is I just slip it into here, into the actual accessory slot. I slip it into here, into the actual accessory slot. I push a quick release button on the side, and just like that, it is now clicked into place. There you go. So, zero spill, nothing like that. Again, this is designed by Aputure. This is designed to be a fast, flex, quick softbox that you can bring wherever you need to go. If you want even higher end materials, I cannot stress this enough, go support the high-end lighting modifier manufacturers, the guys like DOP Choice, the guys like Honey Crates. Again, you can see a couple of those there. I think Chimera's box is over there. This is Honey Crates' box right there. DOP Choice, their giant 5-foot Octa is actually lighting me right now, so if you think that this looks good, there it is right there. You can purchase it there from them. Go support them. You can find the links online. But,
Last thing, Robert.
oh, one more question. What is it?
Robert wants you to say that more Novas are coming mid-August.
Okay, last thing to say, more Novas are coming mid-August. Big shipment's coming then, so if you guys are waiting for your lights to come out, we are aware of the situation. Every time there's a new release, things always get out of stock in the beginning, so if you like the Aputure gear, order early. We do ship things out in order at the time that they're received. Beta testers, of course, come first, but make sure you buy stuff early, ahead of time. And other than that, just be patient. Just be prepared to wait the additional 3-4 weeks after release. Things do come out on time. Hang tight. We don't forget about orders. Everything's in a closed system, so it works together. Alrighty. Okay. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I'm Ted. This has been your Nova unboxing party and walkthrough of kind of our newest and our latest fixture here. If you are a new Nova owner, congratulations. It's awesome. Play with it. Go find all the features that we talked about. Again, we went pretty deep as far as the actual specifications and the features and the things that you can do with it. Go check out Ari Miller's film too, his music video. I think it's going to be coming out later. You can follow Adam Richland for that as well. Really, really cool work there. We've been able to see a lot of screenshots there. And then finally, find your local rental house. I don't care where you are in the world. Contact them. Swing by. Make sure you make a connection with them because it's super important in this day and age to support, especially our rental houses now. They are the blood of the actual film industry, so go give them some love, make a connection, ask them about Novas, and I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. All right, I'm Ted, and we will catch you guys next time.